voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
We made it. Here we are. A little late, but we're here. Sorry about the technical problems. For some unexplained reason, we got gremlins in the system and there was no internet until just a few minutes before we were supposed to go live, and that's because I was switching wires around, and then everything fell apart, but we're on live now. So welcome everyone. Great to have everybody back tonight. Lots of ground to cover. Those two NASA astronauts have been rescued. They are back on terra firma, back on Earth. And I don't know, they might want to go back because the world is a crazy place and protests are ramping up, and they're torching Teslas, protesters. Elon Musk, not Mr. Popularity, not the way he used to be. A lot of people who even bought Teslas are kind of upset with the number one, number two, whatever man in the White House. Whatever he is. Also, he's facing court challenges. It was deemed today that his efforts through Doge to shut down U.S. aid are unconstitutional. Imagine that. And what else do we have for you tonight? I might talk a little bit about that canola oil tariff from China on Canadian canola. Maybe just comment on that briefly, and because people have been asking me to. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, Donald Trump's 2.5-hour phone call with Vladimir Putin. All about that ceasefire. But is it really a ceasefire, or is it just stalling for time? What the heck is it? We'll talk a little bit about that tonight as well. So don't go away. We might even go to the phones. Give you guys a chance to weigh in on the conversation tonight. We'll see how it goes. We're running a little later than usual, so we'll just have to kind of wing it. We'll be back with video of that splashdown right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, yes, those two NASA astronauts, Butch Williams and Suni Williams, are back on Earth tonight, returning in a SpaceX capsule. It splashed down off the Florida coast. All of this going down tonight, 9 months after their faulty Boeing Starliner capsule craft was deemed unsafe for human travel in outer space, and they couldn't come home in it. So it was up to this team at SpaceX to launch the rescue mission. And here's how it went down, literally. Off the coast of Florida today.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Pretty cool stuff.
SpaceX Freedom, splashdown. Good main release.
Copy, splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home. And they needed a little bit of help to get out of that space capsule, because after spending 9 months in outer space, human muscles begin to shrivel up. You lose your strength, and so when you get back when you get back to Earth, the gravity's a lot stronger, so they're going to need to take some time to rehabilitate those muscles. Here's what it looked like as they were bringing them out of the capsule.
Just 5 years ago, when we were doing the initial demonstration missions of the Dragon, for Crew Dragon, that now we're under about 30 minutes for, to retrieve the spacecraft from the water, and just several minutes here while it's been on board, and to get everyone, really to get that side hatch open. For those of you that have just recently joined, the Dragon had an on-time splashdown. It looks like we're getting our next crew member here. That is none other than Sunny Williams. Big smile, big waves. She, like her other crew members, now will be assisted onto the mobility aid.
There we have it. Some waves, some thumbs up, and some smiles.
Definitely seems to be a theme among all recovery operations.
Absolutely. And of course, that leaves NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore inside Dragon in seat 4. We're getting some views of him now as he egresses or exits the spacecraft.
Once again, some elation and cheers there from Butch Wilmore. As we mentioned before, returning to Earth coming from a microgravity environment can wreak havoc on the body. So it is customary and just standard procedure for all of our long-term space residents to get assistance once they are back on board the recovery vessel.
And then they got the rest out, and all is well. At least for now. So ends an adventure. Big news tonight. So, what else do we have on tap for you? What shall we discuss next? The ceasefire deal, I guess. Yeah, 2.5 hour call with Trump and Putin. Putin laid everything out that he wanted in demands, and he's taken nothing back. And what we end up with is Putin and Trump agreeing to some sort of a deal where they've agreed that they won't attack energy infrastructure. So let me take a little break. We'll come back and we'll dig into a little bit of that on the other side. And then we'll probably go to the phones, and then you guys can weigh in on some of these top news stories of the day. Don't go away.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay. So, we had this phone call today between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. They focused on this potential ceasefire in the ongoing war in Ukraine. So what do we know about it so far? Well, here it is. The two leaders spoke for over 2 hours, marking their second conversation since Trump took office in January. The White House says they agreed to a limited 30-day ceasefire, starting with a pause on attacks targeting energy and infrastructure sites in both Russia and Ukraine. Trump is calling this a very good and productive call, posting on social media that both he and Putin share an understanding to work quickly toward a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to what he described as, in his words, a horrible war. The Kremlin confirmed Putin ordered Russian forces to halt strikes on Ukrainian energy targets effective immediately, signaling a step toward de-escalation. However, Putin did stop short of endorsing Trump's broader proposal for a full 30-day truce. The Kremlin's readout emphasized that any permanent resolution would require an end to all foreign military aid and intelligence support to Ukraine, a condition Kyiv and its Western allies probably won't be willing to accept. Russia has also left the door open to continue attacks on other Ukrainian infrastructure like ports and bridges, and that's going to complicate matters. Ukraine's response has been cautiously supportive but firm, with President Zelensky saying his country would back the energy ceasefire proposal, noting that it aligns with ideas Kyiv had previously floated. Speaking to reporters online, Zelensky said today that, in his words, quote, "We have always supported not using weapons against energy infrastructure," but added he hopes to speak directly with Trump to clarify the details. He also expressed concern that Putin might be prolonging the conflict, stating that every day in wartime is a matter of human lives. The White House says negotiations for a broader peace plan, including a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea, will begin immediately in the Middle East, although it's unclear if Ukraine will be directly involved at this stage. For now, the world watches as this partial agreement unfolds, potentially a first step toward ending a war that has now raged for over 3 years. An invasion that Putin thought or said or claimed or told people would be over with in maybe 3 days has turned into a 3-year tragedy on both sides and for the world. And potentially it's going to continue. We'll see. We shall see. The JFK files also about to be released tonight, so we'll dig into that maybe a little bit as well. I'm still waiting for details on that. And Mark Carney going to the Arctic today, Canada's new Prime Minister, making an announcement related to Arctic sovereignty and security. This, of course, is something that actually Trump has been talking about, layering that in with all the 51st state rhetoric. And Poilievre already laid out his plan for Arctic security and sovereignty, and Carney saying that what is needed in the Arctic is improvements, repairs, upgrades to energy infrastructure, and also an enhanced military footprint up there to support surveillance and early warning systems designed, of course, to detect possible incoming ICBMs from Russia. Here's Carney.
Abondant et abordable. This includes building and repairing over 570 homes, ensuring communities have access to safe and dependable power today, building renewable energy security for tomorrow, and in the process, creating more good, high-paying jobs across Nunavut. But as we take action to build a better future together, we must invest in Canada's north to defend our sovereignty. Arctic sovereignty is a strategic priority of our government. Recently, Minister Blair announced over $2.67 billion in investment in military facilities, including one here in Iqaluit. Récemment, le ministre Blair a annoncé un investissement de 2,67 milliards de dollars dans des installations militaires, dont une ici à Iqaluit, parce que les habitants du Nord et tous les Canadiens et Canadiens attendent de nous que nous assurions leur sécurité. La sécurité de l'Arctique est une priorité stratégique de notre gouvernement. And today I'm announcing that our government will be working with our long-standing defense and security partners, Australia, to build a new long-range, over-the-horizon military radar system. This is an investment of more than $6 billion in the most advanced and efficient radar system. The over-the-horizon radar system will enable Canada to detect and respond to both air and maritime threats over our Arctic faster and from further away. It will, most fundamentally, keep all Canadians safe. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que mon gouvernement travaillera avec notre partenaire de longue date en matière de défense et de sécurité, l'Australie, afin d'élaborer une nouvelle technologie de radar transhorizon perfectionnée. Un investissement de plus de 6 milliards de dollars. En même temps, on renforce la présence des forces armées canadiennes pour dissuader, détecter et protéger l'Arctique et notre souveraineté. Nous allons investir près de 420 millions de dollars pour protéger notre souveraineté terrestre, aérienne et maritime grâce à une présence accrue, soutenue et permanente dans l'Arctique. We are strengthening the presence of the Canadian Armed Forces to detect, to defend and deter, and to defend the Arctic and our sovereignty. We're committing nearly $420 million to protect that sovereignty with forces across land, air, and sea with greater sustained and year-round presence here in the Arctic. The world is changing. Our adversaries are increasingly emboldened. International institutions and norms that have kept Canada secure are now being called into question. And the United States priorities, our ally, our United States priorities, once closely aligned with our own, are beginning to shift. Our government recognizes that while Canada must be strong in our partnerships, particularly NORAD, and today's announcement will strengthen our commitment to NORAD, well, that is true. We cannot and should not look first to others to defend our nation. Today's announcement helps accomplish both those objectives. We are masters of our own house. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Nous contrôlons notre propre destinée. C'est une évidence pour moi, pour mon gouvernement et pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Canadians in these difficult times want solutions, not slogans. They want positive action, not anger. They want consensus, not commands. They want strength, not division. Canadians want a government that will fight for them, and our government will always do that. The announcements today will strengthen Arctic security. They'll bolster our partnerships with our closest allies. They'll build the North's economic potential and advance reconciliation with the Inuit, with First Nations and Métis. Canada is and will forever be an Arctic nation. As the Premier just said, this is the true North, strong and free. And Canada is strong, united, and sovereign. Thank you. Merci.
We'll stick with a couple of the questions, I think. And then we're going to move on to the
Thank you, Prime Minister.
JFK
Merci,
files
Monsieur le Premier ministre.
story.
On va prendre une quinzaine de minutes de questions. We'll take about 15 minutes of question. First question. Please go ahead at the mic. Go ahead, Mercedes.
Hi, Prime Minister Carney. Mercedes Stevenson from Global News. You're announcing funding for the Arctic today, which is substantial, but was already planned and announced largely by your government in regards to the over-the-horizon radar system. You're coming back from visiting with your counterparts in France and in the UK, who are dramatically increasing defense spending. Why not take this opportunity to announce significant new money to defend Canada's north in light of the threats that we're facing?
Well, thanks for the question, Mercedes. I think the first thing is, if I may, reverse the order, which is what we're focused on is, as you would expect, delivering a more secure country, protecting Canadian people, and doing that in the best way possible. So, well, I'll call it the Arctic Radar Shield has been under development for some time. There has been a process led by the Minister of Defense, and I want to thank the Chief of the Defense Staff with important input, a long process to determine what is the best way to do that, both value for money for taxpayers, but very importantly as well, how can we implement something as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible? So after very long deliberation and analysis, we get to a point where the Australian system and the partnership we can strike with them responds to all of those priorities. And I was pleased to confirm that in a phone conversation this morning with Prime Minister Albanese of Australia. Securing Canada is an absolute strategic priority of this government. I'm under no illusions that well, let me put it more positively, we will need to do more. We will do it deliberately. We will do it in a way that gets effective value for money, that delivers true security, that is coordinated and reinforces with our partners. And so, yes, I fully expect that, and I've said this before, but I'll just reiterate it, if one looks towards percentages relative to GDP or absolute dollar figures, I expect that more will have to be placed for defense spending, and it will come sooner, but it will only come under circumstances that meet the types of tests of the announcement today, where they have maximum impact as quickly as possible.
In regards to the Northwest Passage, which multiple American administrations have not recognized Canada's sovereignty over, are you particularly concerned about the Northwest Passage in light of Donald Trump's comments about Canada's Arctic and his desire to defend it unilaterally without our consent?
Well, the Northwest Passage is Canadian sovereign. These are Canadian sovereign waters. These are internal waters to Canada, and we first and foremost need to take steps to assert that sovereignty in several ways. And one of the ways, and I had discussions with the Premier, we had discussions moments ago on exactly issues around how we develop communities and economic opportunities abutting the Northwest Passage. That's part of the way we will do this. How do we do that in a way that potentially has dual use, so would also have military use and impacts? And these are priorities. And when the Premier says he looks forward to welcoming me back, and the Minister of Defense back, and the Minister of Industry back, and the other ministers of the Crown back, he's right. These invitations will be taken up because these are absolute priorities of this government.
En français, c'était sur la portion de la menace américaine.
Les menaces américaines. Well, j'ai dit, afin de commencer, l'étoile de Nord-Ouest, passage de Nord-Ouest, ça c'est du territoire marin du Canada. Ça c'est clair. Ça c'est clair pour nous. Et il faut que nous
Trump will probably just rename it the Trump Passage or something.
Avec des investissements économiques et des investissements stratégiques.
Pouvez-vous dire aux Canadiens, M. Carney, aujourd'hui, s'il y a des dossiers ou des décisions où vous allez vous récuser au cabinet en raison de vos avoirs qui sont en fiducie, comme l'a fait, par exemple, Paul Martin à l'époque?
Une bonne question. Ce qui est sûr que...
Okay. We're going to pull out of this and we will move on to Ottawa, where conservative ethics critic Michael Barrett continued to hammer on the issue of transparency. The Conservatives want Carney to disclose all of his financial interests in advance of the deadline that is set out in the ethics rules. Now, to date, Carney has complied, but with the way the rules are written, he doesn't have to fully disclose all of his holdings, which are now in a blind trust already, or so he says, but he doesn't have to fully disclose everything until 120 days, which means he could call an election, go through the election, get elected, and still not disclose all of that information. That's not to say that he's breaking rules, but there are concerns about the rules, and we'll go to Ottawa now and pick up this with Michael Barrett on Parliament
Good
Hill.
morning. We're here again today because Mark Carney refuses to disclose his assets and his conflicts of interest. He doesn't understand why the media and why the opposition keep asking questions. Now, every time he's asked about his connections to Brookfield Asset Management or his conflicts, he becomes defensive, he deflects, and then he attacks. Remember what he told all of you and all Canadians after the Liberals' English language leaders debate in Montreal. He said, quote, "I do not have a connection with Brookfield Asset Management," end quote. Now, I'm sure each and every one of you saw his exchange with reporters in London yesterday. Now, did that sound to you like someone who didn't have any connections to Brookfield? And recall what his office said last week, quote, "Despite repeated attempts, Carney's transition team have declined to clarify if the new Prime Minister still possesses any financial interests in Brookfield," end quote. So apparently, Mark Carney doesn't think that Canadians deserve to know before they vote, and apparently he thinks answering questions on this subject is beneath him. When he was asked about moving his Brookfield headquarters to America from Canada, he lied. When he's asked about his assets, he says he doesn't have any conflicts and he attacks the motives of the ones who are asking the questions. But this really isn't about his style of answering questions that are put to him by the media. The question is, why is he so defensive when he's asked? We know from media reports that Mark Carney was very likely owed future bonus payments from the multi-billion-dollar Brookfield funds that he personally set up and that he managed. And these bonus payments are directly tied to the performance of investments that he made at Brookfield. So what else do we know about the specific Brookfield funds set up by Carney? Now, while Brookfield doesn't provide a full list of projects and companies they are invested in, we know they've invested billions into solar panels, wind turbines, infrastructure, heat pumps, alternative fuels, and countless other sectors associated with the so-called green transition. But also important is the question of which companies and industries did Brookfield and Carney bet against, wanting certain sectors to succeed over others. And perhaps most importantly, which countries did Brookfield and Carney bet on, and which did they bet against? Brookfield is not the most transparent company, but they are slightly more transparent than Carney is personally. And through their public filings, we have some hints. Mark Carney was appointed chair in the latter half of 2020 using the most recently available data. For 2021-2023, we can see that Brookfield's reported assets in the United States increased by 23%, and in Canada declined by 4%. That's right, just as Carney moved his headquarters to America while he was chair, Brookfield was investing more in the United States and they were pulling back in Canada for years. Perhaps this is one of the reasons that Carney is so hostile when he's asked questions. We also know that Mark Carney handed over what he called a, quote, full and robust conflict of interest management plan, end quote, to the ethics commissioner last week. And yesterday, he bluntly denied having any conflicts of interest. So how can somebody claim to have no conflicts when just last week he told the commissioner he has so many conflicts that he needs a full and robust plan to manage them all? Why won't Carney share his supposed conflict of interest plan with Canadians so that they can see for themselves? Brookfield investments touch on huge areas of public policy: energy policy, environmental policy, industrial policy, taxation policy, and infrastructure policy. Now, I could go on and on. Now, is Carney planning on recusing himself from government discussions and decisions in those areas? Now, some of you might recall Nigel Wright was hired as Stephen Harper's chief of staff 15 years ago. Because of Mr. Wright's prior private sector work, he had to recuse himself, leaving the room entirely when certain files came up. Will Mark Carney be doing the same? Why won't he answer? Now, Mr. Wright was a staffer carrying out the direction of elected officials. Carney, as Prime Minister, well, he's the chief decider. This so-called blind trust of his, it doesn't protect him. Why? Because these aren't stocks or ETFs like normal Canadians have that a trustee can buy and sell freely. No, he raised the money from international billionaires and made the investments. He knows exactly what is in there. And those Brookfield funds are locked in with long-term contracts. The only people blind to Carney's assets and conflicts are Canadians because he refuses to tell them the truth. Mark Carney is twisting himself into a pretzel, trying to hide his assets and conflicts from Canadians, avoiding answering questions. Now, I'm not sure exactly how much attention Mark Carney has been paying to Canadian politics over the last decade, but conflict of interest, it's a serious thing. The Carney-Trudeau Liberals have been repeated violators of conflict of interest laws. Justin Trudeau, twice himself. If Mark Carney's going to go to Canadian voters and ask for a fourth Liberal term, he needs to be transparent. And he could do that today. We're calling on Mark Carney to immediately disclose all of the assets that he put into his blind trust and releasing his, quote, full and robust conflict of interest management plan, end quote. If Carney has nothing to hide, he should have no problem doing so. We know that he has them on file. Get it done today. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Mr. Barron, what is your party's relationship with the provincial counter-party? Like, what is the federal Conservatives' relationship with Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives? Is it a good relationship?
You know, we have a working relationship with anyone who shares our priority to put Canada first. The plan that's been laid out by Mr. Poilievre with respect to provincial jurisdiction, breaking down interprovincial trade barriers, any of the premiers who are prepared to work collaboratively with us on that will find a great partner in Conservatives. The same is true with mayors for cities who are prepared to get rid of the red tape and bureaucracy that's driving up development charges, driving up the prices of homes. So we're ready to work in good faith with partners across Canada who are ready, after 9 years of these Carney-Trudeau Liberals, to put Canadians first.
Conflict of interest. What are specifically the conflict of interest that you are worried about, and how would that impact Canadians?
So things like the carried interest funds that will see payments made to Mr. Carney based on the performance of these funds are something that should concern all Canadians. Mr. Carney built these funds. He was the one who went out and solicited the investments for it. And so these aren't something that once in a blind trust, though the trust is being managed by someone else. Who is managing it, we don't know. But though it's being managed by someone else, they can't simply just sell these assets as they would in a regular stock portfolio. These are locked in with long-term contracts. So Canadians need to know what is the benefit that Mr. Carney stands to gain from funds like those.
Which one are you concerned about?
Well, we've listed the three funds that Mr. Carney has, these global transition funds, 1 and 2, the catalytic fund. These are ones built by Mr. Carney, and he knows what's in them. And all of these funds touch on areas that are regulated federally or will be impacted by decisions that he can take. So the question is Mr. Carney going to recuse himself? Is he going to absent himself from discussions and decisions anytime these issues are raised? And what's more, is he prepared to properly divest them? Because simply placing them into a blind trust, as some people have pointed out, is more of a Venetian blind because he's able to see in.
There's a process underway with the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner's Office, and it's their responsibility at this point, as I understand it, to take the information that Mr. Carney has given them and then to provide him with advice. Does he need to recuse himself? What does he need to disclose to Canadians? What does he need to divest? Do you have faith in that office and its ability to do its job?
So the problem that we have right now is that while that advice is being developed, is we have Mr. Carney, who's taking international meetings, setting national policy, and making decisions, signing orders with his black Sharpie, as we saw the other day. And what is the impact on his personal wealth, his personal investments as a result of that? Are we simply to be satisfied as Canadians that someone can be the Prime Minister of this country and be the only public official, the only public office holder in Canada who doesn't have that public disclosure? Not only is Mr. Carney the Prime Minister, he is currently the least transparent public office holder in Canada. Simply saying that, well, there's a 60-day timeline. He had the opportunity at the outset of the process when he was seeking to become the leader of the Liberal Party, where he could have disclosed this information to Canadians. Why is it that he must wait for the maximum amount of time that's statutorily allowed to him? Why won't he simply be transparent with Canadians and provide them with the confidence that their Prime Minister is acting in the best interest of Canada and not his own best interest? And what's the evidence that Mr. Carney will put his own profits ahead of Canadians? Well, just take a look at his decision. When he had the opportunity to send a message as the chair of Brookfield Asset Management to keep its headquarters in Canada, to keep it proudly Canadian. And what did he do? As he noted in his letter to shareholders, in the interest of higher profits for himself, for his board, and for their shareholders, he moved it to Donald Trump's hometown in New York City, and he sent that letter urging all of the shareholders to ratify the unanimous decision of his board, of which he was chair, in order to ensure their profits. When did that letter get sent? Within a week of Donald Trump saying that he was going to attack Canada with unjust and unjustified tariffs.
Were you surprised to see his snippiness yesterday?
You know, the way in which Mr. Carney answers the questions, as objectionable as it might be, isn't the paramount issue. It's the fact that he's refusing. He's distracting from the real problem here, and that's the lack of transparency. The lack of transparency from someone who, when pressed by media, one of his few times that he's taken questions from the media since he entered elected politics or running for public office, and he lied. He lied about his role at Brookfield. And so not only can we not simply take him at his word, we now need to question what his motives are. And you know, and if you look at what he said on Friday here in this building, when he said that they were going to eliminate the carbon tax, and then yesterday he says that's what he says here in Canada, and then yesterday he's in Europe and he says we need to have a carbon tax in place in order to trade with other countries, which is simply not true.
Okay, you have 60 days to disclose the information to the ethics commissioner, which he's done. So I'm wondering, like, speaking rules-wise, is it the rules that you want to change since he's officially abided by them?
Yeah, so we've said that the rules absolutely need to change. We couldn't have imagined a scenario when Conservatives put in place this conflict of interest regime following what was then the most corrupt government that Canada had seen with the Chrétien-Martin Liberals. Well, we've now emerged from 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, and we see a series of ethical law-breaking and scandals that have really tested and challenged the laws as they exist. So yes, the laws need to be updated. Well, of course, that this is something that reporting timeline would need to change. It would be required for leaders who are running, people who are running for the leadership of these parties. But it begs the question, why do we have to appeal to the lowest common denominator? Why is it that Mark Carney isn't simply willing to just be transparent with Canadians? He knows today what those conflicts are. He knows what is in that robust plan. Why not simply take the information that is going to be disclosed, like it is for all public office holders? You can take a look at any public office holder in the a couple of things. First of all, I can tell you before I file my disclosure, based on reading the rules, exactly what's going to appear in the public registry. So it's black and white. It's not a discretionary matter. There's things that will be publicly disclosed and things that won't be. There's also things that are conflicts of interest that will present, and whether or not you need to recuse yourself from those decisions might be a precision that you need to discuss with the ethics commissioner. But look, this is the Prime Minister of Canada. How is it that he's expected to lead discussions, to take decisions, to chair the cabinet in this country, and he's got to leave the room when anything on taxation, anything on transportation, anything on energy, on green technology is discussed in the room? Because that's what's invested in these funds that he's going to be effectively taking a commission on, getting payments on, based on the performance of those funds. So why doesn't he simply just tell Canadians what he stands to gain from those funds? It's basic transparency. So every other public official can tell you what appears in their disclosure, and you can go and you can look online. But we also know, through a very basic reading of the rules, what is going to be publicly disclosed. Disclose that, but also what his plan is. So why is it that we have to wait the 60 days to read it? Because what's going to happen in that time? There's going to be an election. And in the meantime, Mr. Carney continues to take decisions. He continues to set policy for this country, and even projecting into the future after the election. It's basic transparency. It's incumbent on a Prime Minister, and he should do that, especially when he's leading a party that includes a cabinet who have members who have been found guilty of breaking the very law that he claims to hold so important that he's going to appeal only and meet only the minimum standard. Canadians expect more than the minimum standard from a Prime Minister. Mr. Carney should do better.
I still don't understand what you think he's going to do if he has those conflicts of interest, for example.
Yesterday,
You're not...
Mr. Poilievre said that he used technology to replace it. What details are on that? What kind of technology? How much is that going to cost compared to the effect of industrial carbon tax? Plus, it's not a policy, so what details do you have on this?
Yeah, I think that Mr. Poilievre's announcement yesterday stands for itself. I know he took questions on it. You can expect in the next week that we expect that we'll be into an election, and there'll be detailed policies, including on our environmental plans. We've talked in the past about making sure that we invest in nuclear technology. We've talked in the past about making sure that when it comes to actual emissions, that we're displacing global greenhouse gas emissions, punching above our weight as Canada has been able to do in so many other areas. But by exporting our clean and ethical natural gas, our clean and ethical oil to other markets than the United States, in addition to that trading relationship. Look, we've had the opportunity in the past, had we as a country built the capacity, the ability to export natural gas on our west coast and on our east coast, we could have displaced dirty oil, unethical natural resource products from other countries. You look at the deal that the U.S. just struck with Japan. You look at our allies in Eastern Europe who are forced to use the natural gas from Vladimir Putin while he wages illegal invasions. How much could we do to displace global emissions with our clean natural resources from this country, and what could we do to build on international friendships and partnerships and other trading relationships by making those products available? So there's a lot for us to do. There's much that hasn't been done under the 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, but we look forward to giving you more information we expect in the next week. Thanks so much for your questions today. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, politics. He's following the rules, but they want new rules. They want stricter rules. They want more transparency. I'd like more transparency for all of them. I did make some notes here and just got some information on what the ethics guidelines are and what the rules are for members of Parliament in general. And so here's what I know, is that Canadian members of Parliament are subject to specific rules and ethics guidelines regarding the disclosure of their investments and assets, such as stocks or mutual funds. And those obligations are mostly governed by the Conflict of Interest Code for members of the House of Commons, which is appended to the standing orders of the House of Commons, and administered by the Office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner. And so MPs are required to file a confidential statement of disclosure with the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner within 60 days of their election, or whenever there is a significant change in their financial situation. And the statement must include details of their assets, liabilities, income sources, and those of their spouse and dependent children. And assets that must be disclosed include investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real property, and other holdings exceeding a certain value, around $10,000, for controlled assets like publicly traded securities. Once they submit the confidential statement and meet with the commissioner, a public disclosure summary is prepared and made available to the public through the Ethics Commissioner's website. But that summary does not provide detailed specifics, like exact dollar amounts or individual stock names. Instead, it's just a summary, because there are still some provisions in place to provide privacy to even members of Parliament. Backbench MPs are not as governed. The rules for backbench MPs are not as strict as they are for cabinet ministers, who face stricter rules under the Conflict of Interest Act, which go beyond even the ethics code, and they are generally required to divest controlled assets like stocks or place them in a blind trust to avoid conflicts of interest. A blind trust is where you put them into a trust where they're held in trust and someone manages those things for you without talking to you about it, so that you don't have any control. That way you don't have to just sell everything you have to be involved in public office. You hand all your assets over and let someone else manage them for you without talking to you about it, so that you don't know what's going on, or even if they've been sold, I guess. So yeah, they get placed into this blind trust to avoid conflicts of interest given their decision-making authority. And their spouse's assets are also subject to scrutiny, though not required to be placed into a blind trust. And when they talk about a conflict of interest, what that really means is that if you've ever been into a meeting, even at municipal council, or at any level of government, or even sometimes with corporations, or if you're on a board, if you, for instance, own a large portion of a company that, in this case, maybe he owns a lot in an oil company, and there's some sort of a connection to legislation or something that he has to vote on that would be directly affected by what it is that he's voting on, and he's aware and he's in control of that, then he would have to declare a conflict of interest and then recuse himself, pull back, and not participate in the decision-making process, and certainly not vote on it. That's basically how a conflict of interest is dealt with. That's not to say that a conflict of interest is instantly puts him into some sort of criminal or legal jeopardy. It's just to say that he has to recuse himself and can't participate and shouldn't. Now, as the Prime Minister, if he has such broad investments that he's in a constant conflict of interest, even if he places these things in a blind trust, I don't know, because we don't really know what is in there. I'm not sure that Michael Barrett knows exactly what is in there, but the purpose of the Ethics Code aims to maintain public confidence by preventing conflicts between an MP's private interests and public duties. And the Ethics Commissioner reviews disclosures and provides advice to MPs. If an MP fails to disclose a conflict of interest, the Commissioner can investigate, but only another MP can formally request such an inquiry. It's just a lot of rules in place. And even with those rules, there's still, especially for backbench MPs, they don't have to publicly reveal everything or divest in a lot of things. As you go up the food chain and get higher and higher in the pecking order, and you get into the members of cabinet and to the Prime Minister, the rules become stricter on transparency. So MPs must disclose investments and assets like stocks and mutual funds, but only confidentially to the Ethics Commissioner, with limited details released publicly. The rules are stricter for ministers, cabinet members, who have to place a lot of these assets into a blind trust or divest, sell them off so that they don't have them. So they're stricter for ministers and cabinet members, cabinet ministers, than they are for other members of Parliament. The ethics guidelines prioritize avoiding conflicts of interest, but the lack of full public transparency has been criticized as falling short of full, true, and plain disclosure compared to other democracies. So while the Conservatives are calling for more transparency, I think that's sort of okay, but at the same time, I think that they might be playing a bit of a game here, calling on him to disclose and be more transparent. Well, at the same time, you could probably start, taking the same approach to probably just about every member of Parliament. Conservative and NDP, Green and Liberal, all of them. You could make these same demands of virtually all of them. Of course, they've all been through the process if they're already a sitting member of Parliament in the House. Nevertheless, with the way the rules are written, a lot of them, you still don't really see what investments they hold. And so you can easily say, I want more transparency from every single one of them, regardless of the party that they are associated with. And then it just becomes a question that the Canadian public has to grapple with, if any people are really even paying attention. And yeah, I think we do need more transparency from our politicians, because there's clearly, I think there are just way too many conflicts of interest out there, and the standards really need to be elevated. And, interestingly, I see, a lot of people latching onto this as a major issue that they're getting pretty worked up about, because the Conservatives are doing such a good job of using it as a political weapon against their new Liberal opponent, Mark Carney. But the same people who are screaming for more transparency are a lot of Trump supporters, because they're on the Conservative side. But, Donald Trump has not fully released his tax returns even to this day for public scrutiny, as many have demanded. During his 2016 presidential campaign, Trump broke with decades of tradition by refusing to release his tax returns, citing ongoing audits by the Internal Revenue Service as his reason. And he continued this stance throughout his presidency. So now in December 2022, after a lengthy legal battle, the Democratic-led House Ways and Means Committee obtained and released 6 years of Trump's tax returns from 2015 to 2020, and those were made public, revealing details about his income, deductions, and tax payments. But despite that release, Trump himself did not voluntarily disclose those records. They were obtained through congressional action following a Supreme Court ruling in November of 2022 that upheld the committee's authority to access them. So while the public has seen some of his tax returns due to that process, Trump has not personally released them as a gesture of transparency in the way his critics and some voters have demanded. And so people are always, a lot of people are out there saying, don't want a double standard in our justice system. We don't want, two-tier policing. Everybody needs to be treated the same. And yet when it comes right down to it, especially in the world of politics, a lot of people, they scream and holler on the one side, but as soon as the tables are turned, they act just like the people did on the other side. You see what I'm saying? We want more transparency, unless it's your guy, in which case you don't care. Not everybody. I'm just saying a lot of people are like that. Stay with me. More after this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so the JFK files, right? They've been released, I guess. But, we're looking at 80,000 different documents. So this is all, breaking live tonight, even as we... somebody's calling, but I don't know who it is. Looks like they just hung up. So yeah, this is all happening as we are live on the air. Social media is blowing up over this. I'm going to go to an X space here. This is Marion Awful. Let's bring this up. Let's just dip in live as social media is abuzz tonight with the release of these files. Let's just go live into this X space and just listen to what some other people out there are saying about this, and then I'll bring up the latest information that I can find and share that with you as well.
Between Oswald and Soviet agents. New files reveal a possible impersonation of Oswald in Mexico City, and KGB assessed Oswald as emotionally unstable and unreliable as an agent, which sort of takes away from the theory that maybe he was working for the Russians. Foreign involvement and reactions. The Soviet Union was shocked and feared the U.S. might retaliate after the assassination. Soviet intelligence suspected an internal U.S. right-wing conspiracy. Declassified files showed Cuba wasn't involved, though Oswald sought Cuban support, and international agencies like MI5 and Mexican intelligence cooperated in tracking Oswald. The inconsistencies and new revelations. Some of the documents suggest 4 shots contradicting the official 3-shot theory. Witnesses reported movement on the grassy knoll, fueling a second shooter speculation. New records from CIA confirm mafia ties in anti-Castro plots, but not in JFK's assassination. And FBI memos indicate deliberate destruction of evidence related to Oswald's warnings. And for historical understanding, it confirms that Oswald acted alone, but highlights intelligence failures. CIA and FBI withheld key information, fueling decades of conspiracy theories, and the release of nearly all the JFK records sets a precedent for transparency. And now there's more data to refine the official narrative of the assassination. Obviously, there's going to be lots of questions, and there's more documents, and this is just the summary based on an AI search engine. But it was the best I can do besides reading 80,000 pages in the last half an hour. Jess, go ahead.
So, a lot of that you touched on it is pretty accurate. But what I found was interesting is
I'm going over the documents of Mexico City and how they followed him around. And what it kind of painted a picture of was someone who believed for some reason that he was going to get a visa inside of Mexico City to Cuba. Like there's one quote in here where he allegedly said, I could swear to God or something to that effect that I promise you there's a visa for me. I've been approved. The Mexican embassy, Cuban's embassy in Mexico City said that, he looked unstable and he was saying that, he's a good shot and he praised Castro. He also tried to start his own Cuba group, but he didn't actually give any details about it back in the States. So it's kind of like painting a picture of almost someone who really wanted to be important. Like there's actually a quote that he says where I'm going to do something important or I'm going to be very important one day, allegedly according to some witnesses that they interviewed. So it's just kind of like this bigger picture when you step back. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily, he's a puppet, but it does feel like he had these kind of delusional aspirations almost. I don't know. That's what I'm getting so far, but I'm only like maybe about 50 documents in, maybe 100 at this point.
Yeah, if I could jump in super quick. I mean, look, we've been talking about this, I think, and Sarah deserves a trophy for and Ian for sitting in a space for 5 hours in
Crazy guy.
preparation for the release of these documents, right, Ian?
Yeah.
and I think for a period of like 4 hours, I even joked in a back channel. I said, "This is like the Seinfeld space. We're waiting until then. We just have to talk about nothing." But a couple of the interesting conversations we had in the 5 hours revolved around sort of what this means. Does it mean why hasn't it been released before? And I know all sources a minute ago was talking about not wanting to give up sort of sources and put any, and we had heard from somebody before not wanting to give expose intelligence assets and things. But look, when you're not transparent, this is what happens though. People can start to make assumptions based on a lot of things. And look, but here's my question at the end of the day. And first of all, this is a promise made, promise kept. Trump said he was going to do it and he did it. Now, I understand the Epstein files seemed a little bit fumbled. I do believe the reason why we haven't seen those yet is because prosecutions are pending and they wouldn't release files that would destroy any prosecutions. I think we'd rather see people go to jail than have a binder full of information that we've never seen before. But that being said, with these JFK files, look, he said he was going to release them and he did. The question we had before is one, are you going to look at these files and say, oh, okay, I believe everything of these are in these files? Because the question you have to ask yourselves is one, if there's this elaborate plot to assassinate a US president, are they going to document all the things they did? Or would they create a separate sort of breadcrumb trail to lead people down the wrong way to protect their sources? That's possible. At the end of the day, I don't think this report is going to put conspiracies to bed. I think some people might appreciate the extra information. I think we'll always be asking questions about how JFK was assassinated in Texas. I think what we really need information on very quickly, because now we're talking, this is 2024, 2025. We need to know what happened in Butler. And we shouldn't have to wait 60 years to find out. But with that being said, I'll land and throw it over to you, Jess.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I find what I find most fascinating about this is how many other agencies are cited and involved in this. And I think that might have been part of the reason why it's been kept quiet, because as Allstars was saying earlier, very specifically, is that we're sharing information that they shared with us, and now they might not want to share as readily with us information if they're concerned that it's going to get declassified so quickly and then cited to them and tracked back to them, because we've got like Denmark, we've got Australia, we've got Britain, we've got Norway, we've got like crazy amounts of different things. Like we have a post coming up really soon that the CIA blocked
You
the
got the
release.
Dominican Republic as well.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Congo.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And Mexico, like there's just tons of
So
different
I
like
think what
intel
that actually
agencies
has
here.
to be, I'm wondering if this is the reasoning, right? And because there's one thing you guys shared earlier, which was the CIA sent a directive out to say, hey, track all of the, his travels around Europe. And so what is the CIA going to do? They're going to reach out to their European counterparts to be like, hey, share everything you have with us about this guy's travels across Europe. And so you have to rely on these host nations intelligence agencies and the host nation intelligence agency to share that information. But I think there's a belief within these other countries like, hey, this is our secrets, right? We share it with you under the explicit understanding that you do not share our intelligence publicly, basically declassifying. Like they probably have their own laws of how to handle declassification. The question then is, should the Americans declassify intelligence on behalf of European countries who share it with us in confidence? And I think that because what I'm reading a lot, it's more of because a lot of things that are being shared here aren't necessarily directly tied to JFK per se, but rather either the Warren Commission or just anything related remotely to Cuba that has any mention of Cuba, like the whole LBJ's presidential daily briefs. And so I think that is the main reason. And it makes sense that European countries, just like if a European country wanted to classify an intelligence report that we sent them, the American government would be like, no, that's our intelligence. You cannot do that. You're not authorized to declassify our intelligence that we share with you. And I think this is the same thought process that a lot of these countries had, at least during the Warren Commission specifically.
All right, so I'm just going to pull out of that for a moment. So, yeah. We'll maybe go back to that in a moment, but we know that 80,000 pages have been released. And these are all previously classified, apparently, although I'm seeing some things on social media tonight questioning whether these have not, some of these, or maybe even a lot of them, have not been released before. Don't know. But the release was facilitated by the National Archives, and it includes around 2,400 newly inventoried and digitized records from the FBI, adding to over 6 million pages that have already been available in the JFK assassination records collection. And the documents don't appear to contain a definitive smoking gun tonight that dramatically alters, what we already know, that or even the established narrative that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating Kennedy back in November of 1963 in Dallas. Historians, experts, they've all cautioned that while these files provide additional details, they, as they are reviewed tonight, probably won't overturn the lone gunman theory upheld by the Warren Commission, although many people have come to their own conclusions or alternative conclusions over the years. So I guess the revelations from what I'm seeing in summaries tonight so far are that the files hint at a greater CIA awareness of Oswald's activities prior to the assassination, particularly his visits to the Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City in September of 1963. Some memos suggest the CIA tracked Oswald but may not have shared all intelligence with the FBI, raising questions of negligence rather than complicity. Now, what about the second shooter? Well, certain documents, or speculation of a second shooter, certain documents, including ballistics reports and witness testimonies, lend credence to theories of a second shooter, possibly from the grassy knoll. And this aligns with the 1979 House Select Committee on Assassinations findings of a high probability of multiple gunmen, though conclusive evidence remains elusive tonight. And what about those possible mafia connections? There are indications of mafia ties in these documents, potentially linked to Kennedy's policies or his brother, Robert F. Kennedy's anti-organized crime efforts. And those connections, while intriguing, are not definitively proven to have orchestrated the assassination. And what about the investigation irregularities that are always cited? Evidence in these documents suggests that the FBI and CIA withheld information from the Warren Commission, pointing to possible cover-ups or bureaucratic failures in the investigation process. Now, despite these insights, the sheer volume of the release means thorough analysis is going to take time. We're not going to get everything out of this tonight. Presidential historians and scholars note that while the documents offer useful context, such as CIA operations and Oswald's movements, they are unlikely to dramatically overturn our understanding or views on the event, the assassination. Public and scholarly debate continues, fueled by long-standing skepticism about the official account. But as of right now, the files largely reinforce rather than rewrite the historical narrative. I've said for a long, long time that it won't matter if they release all the documents, which I guess we have now. People will still continue to debate this. And even if the truth comes out of this and it's staring people smack dab in the face, collectively, if it's right there for all of us to see, it could be definitive proof. And there will always be people out there who will refuse to believe it and continue to speculate and level accusations of conspiracies and cover-ups. And I have to wonder about Tucker Carlson tonight, who claimed that he knew definitively that the CIA was responsible for the assassination of JFK. But I'm not sure that these documents support that. I don't know, because I have not had time to read 80,000 pages myself. But with 80,000 additional pages out there now, one thing I think is certain. All of the JFK book writers, conspiracy theorists, historians, scholars, political junkies, and just curious Joes, we are going to have decades of new fuel for thought, food for thought, ammunition for conspiracies. This hasn't solved anything tonight. It has not revealed the mystery or brought us any closer to truth, I don't think. So we've got them all, apparently, and yet even there, I guarantee you there will be people out there who say that not all the documents have been released. Stay with me. We'll come back on the other side.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
We are getting close to the top of the hour. I can't stay on too much longer tonight because I know there are some other people calling about other business that I need to attend to in a little while, but we probably have time for at least a couple of calls. So if you want to call in, now's the time. Do it now or forever hold your peace. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Yes, and if you want to support the channel, you can do that by donating at freedomreporters.com. Appreciate the support immensely that we do receive from those of you who donate and those of you who like, share, and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. And please subscribe over on our other YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. Maybe I can find that for you. I'll put the link in the chat in case you're not over there. Yeah, there it is. Right there. Get that link. And you can go over to that channel if you're not there already. I'll have to open up the Rumble channel. I'll look in the chat when we go in there too. There we are. Then, yeah, and there we go. Now there's the link in the Rumble channel to the other YouTube channel. And thank you to everybody for doing that. And here is, yeah, please consider subscribing over on that the other YouTube channel. I'm trying to migrate people over to that as much as I can. And even those of you watching on the main YouTube channel, if you start watching over on the other channel, it would actually be very helpful. Here is the number to call tonight if you want to join the conversation. 1-647-734-4220. And when prompted, punch in that PIN number to enter the conference call at 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. The number again, 1-647-734-4220. And it looks like we've got our first caller of the night on. And I think I know who this is. There he is. Bring him up on the screen. The one, the only, John Scotty Rimby from Alberta. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, Rickster, Rimby, John. Too bad about the internet. I'm just making dinner for my roommate. But I just wanted to say that landing of SpaceX, you know what it reminded me of, Rick? You're a movie guy.
I don't know. What did it remind you of?
Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
when Charlton Heston landed in the water. Unfortunately, Planet of the Apes were all dead, but our SpaceX, they were all, I thought that was incredible. I really did.
Yeah. Yeah, that
reminded me of Planet of the Apes. What a beautiful thing for humanity, Rick. How can we work together as Canadians, Americans, the world? How can we work together to send our beautiful human beings to outer space, and yet we fight over nothing in Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia? I don't know, Rick. I'm lost.
Well, and the thing is, as much as it's a positive thing that we're seeing from SpaceX and NASA, a lot of people are pretty darn upset with Elon Musk. And this is the other story that I really need to touch on tonight. And I'm sure you're more or less familiar with this already, John. But overnight, we have seen more Teslas at dealerships across 3 different states set ablaze. You've been following some of that, right?
I don't own a Tesla dealership, but I don't think I'd want one, Rickster.
Yeah,
What do you think?
Yeah, I know.
I'm in the oil business. I'm not an electric car guy. No disrespect to electric vehicles, but so.
Yeah, let me just bring up Tesla fires. And Marjorie Taylor Greene freaking out over this. Yeah, here we go. Here's some video. Apparently this is what it looked like in Las Vegas. Now I'm seeing a couple of versions of this footage online tonight. Share it with you here. Yeah, cars set ablaze in... Oh my goodness, I did that wrong. Now I have to be careful what I do so I don't knock you offline here, John. This is so complicated. Just so many buttons to push.
Rick, whether you're an electric car person or not, to be vandalizing a dealership of motor vehicles that's owned by a private individual or company or family, that's not acceptable. It's like the burning of the church in Manitoba 4 days ago. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
No, it's not. Okay, let me see if I can get you this video up here. All right. This is
Marjorie Taylor Greene. At least she's got one seat over Maxine Bernier, eh?
I'm sorry, what was that about Marjorie Taylor Greene? What?
Well, at least she got elected over Maxine Bernier. At least she got elected. She only got one seat, right?
Yeah. Okay, here's... See if I can bring this up. Oh, come on, play video.
Oh, you're talking the U.S. when I'm thinking Elizabeth May. Sorry, I mixed up.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'm thinking about Elizabeth May. No, Marjorie. Oh, you're talking the blonde lady from the U.S.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. I quite like her.
Do you? Yeah. I think she's a little nutty.
She's a little foul-mouthed.
I didn't realize how nutty she was until I really started to pay attention. She's kind of nutty. So there's one. Yep. Let's see here. Somebody don't like those Teslas. And then it spreads, and there's more. There's actual footage from a while back too, not from last night, but I've seen footage of people dumping gasoline on these Teslas. And yeah, so cars set ablaze over 3 states overnight. 3 states. And it's not the only place being targeted. I also understand that there was a Tesla set ablaze in London, Ontario, my hometown.
Wow. Ooh. Pretty wicked pictures.
Yeah, let me see if I can get you a shot of that. Here it is. Various media reports, and this is a website devoted to Tesla. And there's a picture of it here. I'll share it with you. And of course, this is all seems to be happening because people are obviously not happy with Mr. Musk. These stupid ads.
Well, let's give Elon Musk a break today. If it wasn't for 4 worlds in the world, Rick, and it's not, thank you or I'm sorry. What an incredible job Elon Musk did today with SpaceX, and let's thank God. God was involved in it, bringing those astronauts back safe.
Yeah.
That's an incredible feat, Rick.
Yeah.
Incredible feat. Incredible for humanity, not just the U.S. or Russia. It's incredible for the world.
Well, that's true enough. Although, that's a huge team of people behind it, and there's a lot of tax dollars there too in play. And so this website, this is Drive Tesla Canada. This is a shot of the Tesla that was set on fire. It is apparently arson at Masonville Mall in London, Ontario. This was last night, as you can see from this picture. It says here, according to a post on Reddit, an individual wearing a ski mask was seen igniting the vehicle before fleeing the scene. Early indications suggest that the burned Tesla was one of several demo vehicles available for test drives at Tesla's recently opened showroom inside the mall, because they don't do traditional dealerships the way that a lot of other car companies do. And the fire was extinguished by the fire department, but not before causing significant damage to the vehicle. It'll be a write-off. And it was a Model Tesla, Model S.
So, Rick, was the dealership inside a mall? Because we've got a high-end luxury car dealer in Leduc in the Premier Outlet Mall, and the dealership is actually in the mall. In fact, there's a huge Toyota dealer in West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you're making me think about it.
This is like it's like a, I haven't been there. I haven't been up to that mall in years, even though it's my hometown. I go there once in a while, but I haven't been into that mall for a long time. But I guess it's like a showroom kind of a thing, and then they have the vehicles out in the parking lot for test drives. So, yeah. And it says this fire is part of a wider trend of vandalism against Tesla vehicles, showrooms, and charging stations across North America and Europe. And there is also, they've been experiencing these kinds of arsons at Tesla dealerships, even over in a lot of them just recently in Germany. Protesters and vandals, it says here, have increasingly targeted the automaker, driven by opposition to Elon Musk's political affiliations and his role in the U.S. government's Department of Government Efficiency, or I call it the Department of Getting Even, which is largely what it is.
Which has been deemed today, I think, my friend, in the United States, unconstitutional.
Yes, and I think that is actually true. I've talked about that. Following the rules is pretty important when you're the people in charge. You need to lead by example. And Trump and Musk are not following the rules. I'm sorry, they just aren't. And so it's going to come back to bite them on the butt, or it's going to hurt the country in general. I'm just saying, they're not following proper process. And the courts are ruling against them. But as we've seen so far, Trump, because he has, through Doge, really purged government of internal opposition to his presidency and his policies and the forward momentum he has on implementing these policies. There's not enough opposition left there to stop him from doing anything. So he's kind of like thumbing his nose at the courts and saying, well, I'm going to do what I want. In fact, I think those were the precise words. Who was it that said that yesterday? I can't remember the person, but someone from the administration, when asked by reporters yesterday, said precisely that. I don't think it was Trump directly, but it was someone very close. We're going to do what we want. This was in relation to the deportations and the court order that they just ignored.
Which the Trump organization.
Oh, I just lost John. I'm sorry, John. This is when I'm trying to bring these screens up inside that thing. I just hit the wrong thing, and I just cut him off. I am so sorry, John. You can call back. I'll reinitiate the meeting. If you've been cut off, I'm going to go back in there. He might still be in there. Let me see. I am so sorry. Are you there, John? Okay, sorry. I brought the tab down. You're not on the air. Just a minute. Just hang on. Just stop for a second, John. John, stop for a second because you're not on the air. Okay, hang on. I made a mistake and I took you off. There you go. Now you're back. Okay, I was
just saying, Rick, that the Trump White House deemed that the jets with the illegal aliens for, I think, Venezuela had already left Alberta or U.S. airspace before the court order had been issued.
That was what they were saying. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It doesn't matter. They would have sent them anyway. They don't
you
care.
Think?
Oh yeah,
you
they
think?
didn't care. The order was have that plane turn around right now. And they were over international waters, they said. So, no, sorry, can't do anything. They're already over international. No, they just ignored the court order. They don't care.
No. Come on, Rick. Let's be technical here. Mm-hmm. It was the orange orangutan said, no, we're not. I love that's the best hit. The orange orangutan. Thank you. That's pretty good on the money.
Then, in fact, now, see, this is, I'm telling you that the luster is coming off the president. Trump's presidency, because he is acting like a dick, especially with these tariffs and this heavy-handed approach to everything. And a lot of people, I don't think they saw this really coming. I hope I still have this clip lined up. Let me see here. Yeah, here it is here. This is Captain Mark Kelly. He bought a Tesla, and now he's having some buyer's remorse, and so he's getting rid of his. I'm going to play his clip, and I'm going to just show you how a lot of people have changed their views on Elon Musk, where he's gone from hero to zero with people like Captain Kelly here.
Hey folks, it's Mark Kelly here in Washington, driving to work for the last time in my Tesla. When I bought this thing, I didn't think it was going to become a political issue. Every time I get in this car in the last 60 days or so, it reminds me of just how much damage Elon Musk and Donald Trump is doing to our country. Talking about slashing Social Security, cutting healthcare benefits for poor people, for seniors. It's one bad thing after the next. He's firing veterans. I'm a veteran, so I have a really hard time driving around in this thing. So I think it's time for an upgrade today. So this is going to be my last trip in this car. There were some things I really liked about it. There are things I didn't like about it, but that doesn't matter. What matters is, doing the right thing. I think it's time to get rid of it. Elon Musk kind of turned out to be an asshole, and I don't want to be driving the car built and designed by an asshole. So, looking forward to my new ride.
And there you go. That's the way a lot of people have changed their views.
That's pretty brutal, Rick. That's pretty brutal, eh?
From a guy who obviously was a fan and went out and bought one of the cars and was a supporter, and now to that. And I get it, because a lot of these policies coming from the Trump administration and because of what Musk is doing, he's hurting a lot of the people that have been Trump supporters. Blue collar, working class people, going after, firing a lot of people from government, really with no cause, no real what you would call cause or justification. People have just been doing their jobs, a lot of them, and it's just huge. It's massive. So this is coming back to this is just the beginning, and you're going to see more pushback from a lot of people who have been marginalized and hurt by this. And as this trade war develops, you're going to see a lot of pain as well. So as the economy sours in the U.S., people are going to turn against Trump. And then up here in Canada, though, it's a funny thing that's going on that I'm witnessing. It's like this strange reverse psychology thing again. It's like a Jedi mind trick they're playing on people. It's like Trump's your friend. He's doing Canada a favor by screwing you over, right? They're making it like it's the government. It's all your government's fault. It's your fault. No, it's Trump. None of this would be happening if it wasn't for Trump. Who is on the line with us?
It's Isabel. Hi, John. Hi, Rick.
Hey, how are you?
Have you seen the interview with Elon's daughter?
Elon's daughter?
What one? He's got 14, Isabel. He's looking at Hockey Night in Canada and having fun. He's got 14. Well, he's sons and daughters, but out of the 14, what one are you talking?
I guess she's the older one. She has, I can't remember her name, dark hair and glasses. And she's so against him. She doesn't even call him dad. She calls him Elon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think I know the one you're talking about. She doesn't like her daddy.
No, I haven't seen it.
But she's interviewed with, this guy was interviewing her, and she is so against what she's not the pro-green people, but she said you have to delve into the actual meaning behind these chips, because in the head, because she said he didn't put out the number of chimps, because they practiced on chimps first.
Yes.
That died.
Yes. A lot died, yes.
And she is so against what he's doing. And she comes away with there's an underlying meaning of what he's doing. And she said it's not all good. And that's his own daughter.
Yeah, the whole chipping people's brains. I know that they're trying to sell it to people because, you can cure blindness or give or help help paraplegics and things like that. But no, there are other applications that are on the horizon that are probably pretty sinister and dark, because with everything that is good also comes something that is bad. Military applications, super soldiers, who the heck knows what they have in mind. I'm sure they're exploring all of those dark, evil things as well.
And probably so. I mean, they probably already have. The way she comes across, it's like there will be, like, these people will follow easily because they will be not only marked but controlled.
And
well, but Rick and Isabel, I remember years ago, this computer stuff and chips, they always kind of pre-sell it as it's going to be good for your mom and dad in a medical facility. That they had chips years ago. I think that they injected it into, it was small, not in your brain, but it floated through your body, through your blood vessels. And, if grandma's going to walk out the door of the Alzheimer unit, it's going to lock the door so she can't get out. They always promote this stuff from a medical point of view, but I think there's a much darker, and you're not a dumb lady, Isabel. We really love you from Alberta, my dear.
Well, people get their dogs chipped too with RFID chips, in case they get lost.
No.
And, I don't have Cosmo chipped, but I do have a tracker thing on his collar in case he ever
I don't have
runs
anything
away,
on mine.
Yeah.
I don't think mine could run too far.
But I'm not a dog, and I worry that down the road that those chips they'll work two ways for communication. And if you can control a computer with your mind, then no doubt they'll have some sort of interface that will allow it to control you back. That's, I think, the real danger. I don't want anybody in my head that I don't want there.
No, and I am in agreement with her the way that she was talking. Like she said, you all think these robots are great, but she said they're not. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've seen movies, and like people will say, okay, movies are science fiction, but science fiction's becoming fact.
Oh yes.
Well, Isabel, it's called Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator #3 that was made Rexter? 15, 20 years ago. Oh, and if you don't think that's not becoming true, Terminator #3, it's upon it.
Look at the design of, Elon Musk's robots are very, very, very identical to iRobot.
Yeah.
With Will Smith.
And they're going to change our society. If you can afford to buy a robot, then that robot becomes your slave. You can use that robot to do all kinds of work. Now you become more productive. You could send your robot to work or to produce things for you that you don't then need to do yourself. If you have 5 robots, those robots could make you very wealthy. You could just send them all off to work while you sit at home and watch reruns of Happy Days. Right?
Yeah, but Rick, they're already doing that. They're already doing that with the Tesla car that you buy with the technology in it. You can be sitting at Maverick News, Rick and Chatham, and your car leaves the driveway 6 times a day to do Uber deliveries and make you an income. That's already going on. The other thing scares me, Isabel and Rickster and Maverick News. Today I'm giving Elon Musk a break. If you looked at that SpaceX landing, it was beyond perfect. But I thank Elon today. I'm giving him a break. But I also thank God today because God brought those beautiful human beings back to Earth with humanity praying.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad they're back. Elon does more evil than he does good, unfortunately.
Seems so.
That's how I see it. That's how I see it. He's more than two-faced. He's doing good on this 1%, but it's the 9% that you're not seeing that he's doing in the darkness.
You mean the 99, Isabel?
and I don't trust him.
99%. Yeah, and it's not appropriate to have that guy in my view, controlling Doge. He has massive government contracts. You talk about it. This is the thing. Everybody's upset about Mark Carney, and they want more transparency from him. But over here, the same people that I hear screaming about Carney are like, "Go Elon, go Doge." Yeah. But there's nothing more. Obviously this guy has massive conflicts of interest. In there, and nobody cares about that because it's Trump.
He's Elon Musk. He's unelected. He doesn't have a seat in the Senate.
Yeah.
He's not a senator or
even more.
He's not a governor.
No, he's not appointed.
He is unelected. He is straight up unelected. You can be a billionaire and get elected. He's unelected.
It's entirely inappropriate, illegal, and even today deemed to be unconstitutional. And that's why they're being ordered to restore, undo all of what they've done with U.S. aid, but they won't do it. And the president will just do an end run around it because he now has immunity from basically any kind of prosecution. So he's, just asserting massive, huge power. This is very strange times.
It is, but and people are posting now. There was a parade. Was it Portugal? They had the parade.
Switzerland. They gave Trump the yes finger.
Yes,
Switzerland. Brian Howe told me.
Switzerland.
Brian Howe told me that as a Kingston. Thank you, Brian. We love you.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I thought, man, he's not liked anywhere. When I seen that, I thought it was like at first you only see the first couple in the row, but then you see everybody behind wearing these finger mask hats.
Yeah, Trump, the master.
So hated.
Trump's supposed to be a master deal maker. You know what came out of that 2.5 hour telephone call today between Putin and Trump? They started to discuss a Russia-USA hockey tournament. Like I don't know. It seems to me that if you're negotiating or you're talking about ending a war and you're supporting and providing arms to Ukraine, you maybe shouldn't be quite so friendly with the Russian dude. It doesn't compute with me what he's doing, except that he's obviously on Putin's side. This is not good.
He's running this government like it's a golf game. Like, oh, I can do this while I'm playing golf. I can do that, and all this. Yeah. He's making a mockery of the whole thing of democracy, and people are starting to wake up.
Yeah.
That voted for him, and they are sour.
Yeah.
Oh, they're sour.
And see this ceasefire deal too, that from what I'm seeing, if Ukraine agrees to it, it really benefits Russia and hurts Ukraine. Because if the deal is set that they can't attack energy infrastructure, I guess that also means oil refineries, which Ukraine has been hitting to.
But that's not a ceasefire.
That's not no, it's a partial ceasefire. Putin wouldn't agree to a full ceasefire. He wants Ukraine to stop blowing up his oil refineries because by doing that, Ukraine is really gaining a lot of ground and leverage because that's how they're funding the war. That's how they're funding their economy right now is through oil. And that's really been hurting them. And with all the drones that Ukraine has been building within its own country and then attacking those oil depots with the drones, that's really hurt Russia. So of course he wants that to stop. So he's like, okay, well, we'll stop attacking energy infrastructure. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out, whether that includes oil depots, but I'm pretty sure that it would. It's going to hurt Ukraine and help Russia. That's why it's being proposed. And this whole idea, like this whole thing about everybody, so Putin doesn't want Ukraine. He doesn't want all of it. Putin just wants peace. No. If he really wanted peace, he would jump at the chance right now and just accept this ceasefire for 30 days and then build on that and end this war. That's not what's going on at all. He's like, basically, he's saying, I'll stop. I'm in favor of a ceasefire as long as Ukraine gives up. And as long as they don't rearm, and you can't rearm them, and you can't come in here, you can't influence anything. No NATO troops, no European troops, even as peacekeepers. We don't want a NATO footprint in here. No European influence, no U.S. influence. You have to stop providing them with arms. Can't give them any intelligence. You can't support them at all. You have to leave them on their own. They can't even have like their own military. They have to disarm. This is like, those are his terms, complete capitulation, and then I'll agree to a ceasefire. I like the idea of a ceasefire as long as I win and they lose. That's basically what the Russian position has been. And then this is, also to Russia's advantage, Ukraine's disadvantage. I'll be very surprised if Ukraine accepts it.
Well, Isabel Rimby.
Ukraine and leaving Ukraine wide open, like your guest said the other night.
Yeah.
But Isabel Rimby and Richter, Isabel, if we had mothers like you running the world, running our towns, our townships, our cities, our governments, our countries, Isabel, there'd be no war. There wouldn't. Brian Howell told me the other day out of Minnesota, the Democrats have brought forward this bill of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, it'll probably never be passed, but they're ticked. But Isabel, if there were mothers like you running the world, sisters like you running the world, there'd
Are
be
you
no
kidding
war.
me, John? Look at through history of the women that have been in charge of things. You piss off a woman,
come on.
and that's probably the last thing you'll ever do.
Oh,
well, I'm
yes,
not married,
you know what
so
they say, woman scorned.
Hell hath no fury, right?
Yeah.
Like a woman scorned. That's right. So I don't know about that one, John.
Well, I'm
And
just
I have
thinking
red
about
hair,
mothers.
so John, I have a very, very short fuse, and I have red hair.
You're like my neighbor in Morseburg. Yeah, that didn't go over well. You're the only redhead I've gotten along with there, Isabel. The other two in my life, it wasn't good.
Well, I always tell everybody I would do anything to help anybody. Just don't piss me off. But once you do, bang.
Who just joined us on the line? Who's the new caller?
Yeah, hi. This is Trent in New Jersey.
Well, welcome, Trent.
Hi, Trent.
How you doing? Hello.
The floor is yours.
Welcome,
What's
Trent.
on your
Welcome,
mind?
Alberta, friend.
I just started listening, but I'm looking at the chat and listened to a few minutes here. And yeah, what a deal maker Donnie is. He's, he wrote The Art of the Deal, and it's really showing in his dealings with Putin.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can detect the sarcasm in my voice.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's a little thick, but yeah.
Now, Rickster, our friend from the United States, have you seen The Orange Orangutan, your new song?
Well, we'll play it at the end of the show, but but elaborate for us there, Trent. Let's give the floor to Trent and just and get your thoughts on the ceasefire proposal.
I'd like someone to ask Donnie. He came up with that bullshit story that the Ukrainians were surrounded in Kursk and the Russians were going to massacre them all. And Donnie, being the great deal maker and peacemaker, came in and brought that to Vlad's attention. So, what happened with that? I mean, are they still surrounded? That's very concerning. Or is it all bullshit and he made it up?
That's the thing. I was even believing it, right? Because it was coming from online sources, and then the president repeated it. And then I'm like, well, I guess that must be true.
Wait, Rick. Hold on. I'm picking myself up off the floor and getting back in the chair.
Uh-huh.
You believed something because it was said on the web, and something said on the web that Donnie picked up.
And mainstream and many mainstream media outlets repeating it. That was such an effective piece of propaganda that it was spreading far and wide through all media channels. You can go back and find the other.
What mainstream media covered that? I didn't see anything.
Oh, I did. Oh, absolutely, I did. I saw references to it for sure. Within the first 24 hours.
OAN and or Alex Jones and OAN are not mainstream media.
No, I'm not talking about them. I won't do it right now,
Okay.
because we don't really have time. But no, there were references to it in mainstream, other mainstream. Certainly here in Canada, there was reference to it. It was out there. And that's how effective this propaganda is. But over, the course of a day, I realized that I did come on and I said on the show that I don't know what the truth is tonight, folks, because I'm seeing it here and I'm seeing it there, and the truth is probably
so
somewhere
much
in
of
the
this
middle.
bullshit.
Sorry.
All this guy does is surf around Twitter, because so much of his bullshit, like the whole auto pen thing now,
Yeah.
like it started on social media with far right kooks, and he picks this shit up and amplifies it. We are the dumbest country ever.
Technically, my friend, let's be technical. It's called Trump shit. I got horse shit, bullshit, cow shit, and sheep shit in Alberta. This is Trump shit directly from the White House in the United States of America. Sorry, my American friends.
Well, he exaggerates everything. He makes numbers up, he pulls them out of thin air, and it's like the trade deficit between Canada and the U.S. 300. We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. No,
It's
you
Trump
don't.
shit.
No, you don't subsidize
Well,
us
look
at
at that-
all. And the trade deficit is
look at
only
that
$40 billion. You just make stuff
Look
up.
at that artificial line that was drawn.
Yeah.
I need to redraw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Trump and his people are a master of taking utter bullshit. Like here's my favorite one, or really the most effective one. So let me start out by saying I am against biological men in women's sports. Okay, that's a joke. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed. The whole Leah Thomas thing with the University of Penn swim team is a travesty. You know what's as large of a threat here in America to society as biological men participating in women's sports? Bear maulings and shark attacks. Let me tell you something. Shark attacks are happening everywhere. The sharks are coming inland. They've grown feet, and they now come inland and devour people. It's happening everywhere. We have to fight against the sharks. It's out of hand. I mean, they took the most ridiculous... It's not a ridiculous issue. Like I said, I agree with them. But it's not happening. I officiate NCAA soccer. I've been an NCAA soccer referee for 25 years. Mostly Division I, but, some D2 and D3. In the 10 trillion games I've done, do you know how many biological men I've seen in women's games?
0.
Ding, 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 ding. It's not a thing. Yet,
But what's weird though, Trent,
they took shark attacks and made it into the number one issue in the campaign. We are the stupidest country.
But what's weird is why is it the guys that can't compete against guys because they can't want to be in the women's sports, but you don't see women wanting to go in the guys' teams.
But guys, Trent from New Jersey, if you've got a dick, you're not a chick. If you have a dick, you're not a chick. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be playing on women's anything.
I agree, but like the Leah Thomas thing, okay, I have a better chance of getting hit by lightning or being devoured by a shark as I do of seeing biological men participating in women's sports. And people go, oh, well, what about the Olympics? The Algerian boxer, the Olympics. Okay, there's another case. We're a world of 6 billion people. The U.S. has 330 million people. Yes, it's going to happen a handful of times. It doesn't mean it's a problem and that it's happening everywhere. Yet Trump was able to convince people that this was the biggest threat to society.
Right. It's a culture issue. It's a hot button issue that he can score points with and get votes because it's emotional for people. And it appeals to the dark side and and people's prejudice and bigotry too, right? So you can tap into that.
Yeah.
Right. But even if you're, like I said, even if you're you hate trans people, they're devils, they should all be executed. Like, I mean, I don't think that, but even if you do,
I
don't
don't
these
either. I
people
don't
have the
believe that.
whereabouts to, huh?
I don't believe that either, Trent, from the U.S. You know, we got our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and his alleged daughter, allegedly, on True North and Juno, was a girl and transitioned to be a boy at the Tavistock Clinic in the UK.
Yeah, but you know what, John? Here's my response to that. So?
Well, yeah,
I
me
know.
too. I love everybody. I don't care what you want to do behind private closed doors.
Really, after you told me that earlier today, I went and I looked at the report, and it's like, well, what's the issue? Like, did he do something illegal? Did his child do something illegal who's now an adult?
No.
Like, what? So what? He's got a transgender.
Yeah, but don't you know here in the U.S., you know, little Johnny, mom gives him a kiss and he leaves for school. Goodbye, Johnny. Have a good day at school. And then later that day, Johnny comes home as Jennifer. They've changed his sex.
Exactly, Trent. Exactly my point. From Mark Carney's daughter to son.
The
Yeah,
fact
exactly. Tavistock Clinic. Exactly. Thank you.
I'm beating the dead horse, but we are the stupidest country in the world. We are so dumb. Who would believe this bullshit?
Because he has a good way of putting it in people's minds so that he's the good guy.
Yeah, like just the whole Carney transgender daughter thing. I don't know, John. Like,
daughter to a son. I don't know.
Or whatever. Like, I don't care, and that's their business.
But was she an adult?
Yeah, she's an adult.
That's the thing.
And
if she was an adult, that's her choice.
And I don't know, I don't know the particulars of it, but if he's done something illegal, like it's a cultural issue, I guess. I just it's like, oh my God, this politician has a gay son. Well, I can't vote for that guy then. And they've tried to do the same thing with Polyev, the conservative leader, coming back the other, like, not even really from the liberal side, but I think from, the more even further right political people. They've tried to target Polyev because his parents or something. What was it? His dad, I think, I don't know. His parents split up, and they're saying that his dad was gay. I don't care. But they keep making a business out of this.
But you know who cares? That state. You know who cares? That state. I don't know his name. That state senator in Minnesota. Did you read about that guy today?
No.
What's his name there, Trent?
I don't know the name. I'd have to look it up. But he's a state senator, so not at the national level, but at
Is he Republican
Minnesota.
or Democrat? Is he Republican or Dem?
Republican.
Oh, okay.
And he sponsored a bill in Minnesota saying that TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, which anyone who has any integrity and intelligence should have TDS. If you don't have TDS, it's because you lack all morals and values and character. But
they're labeling that as a mental illness.
Yes,
right?
that's what he's pushing for. Yeah, yes, that's what he's trying. That's what he's pushing. But you know what happened to that gentleman today?
No.
He got his Tesla firebombed.
No, even worse. He got caught up in a sting. He got caught up in a sting for soliciting a child for sex.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
I just found this. The guy's name is Senator Justin Eichhorn.
Oh,
and he was arrested.
MAGA family values.
Yes, there you go. Here, I'll bring it up so people can see this.
Wow.
Yeah, that's look over
Holy
there.
smokes.
Don't look over here, right?
This is just so typical.
Married, 4 kids.
Oh.
He should go the Musk route where you have 27
13?
kids from 9 different women. That's much better.
Yeah, here it is. Minnesota TDS bill sponsor arrested for allegedly soliciting a teen.
Oh.
This is Senator Justin Eichhorn, charged with soliciting a minor for prostitution. after an undercover operation by Bloomington Police Department. So he's still in custody tonight. And hours before his arrest, Eichhorn and 4 other Republicans introduced a bill to classify Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness. We talked about this last night. And I think this is extremely dangerous. People, you'd laugh at it because it's so absurd, but it really shows how the dark place that we've ended up in politics, where they're going to throw you into some sort of a psych ward because you say something critical of Donald Trump.
Yeah,
but you know what's the most shocking thing? You know what the most shocking thing about this story is? Not that it happened, but, and again, when I read this part of the story, I fell out of my chair, is that other GOPs within the Minnesota Senate distanced themselves from this guy and denounced him. I was surprised in this day and age of MAGA and Trump. I thought you could be a pedophile, you can sleep with porn stars, you can have multiple kids from multiple wives. That's so like 1990s to that if someone does something bad, you want to disassociate from them. I was shocked at that. How dare they? I mean, after all, our president just got the Tate brothers out of Romania. So what's the big deal that this guy in Bloomington, Minnesota, solicited a 12-year-old girl? That's not a big deal. I mean, what politician, what normal man doesn't do that every now and then?
Well, Trent, I'm a half American from Minnesota, from Norway. Canadians are just as stupid as Americans. We got suckered in, with all due respect, my friend, and thank you, Rickster. Thanks for calling in again, sir. We got to do a live with you. Canadians, we were duped into the Trump thing again. Huge support out of Western Canada for Trump. And he's buried a meat cleaver in our back. It's not just, and I got to back up. You're far from dumb Americans. I'm part American. You're the most beautiful, wonderful people in the world. But Canadians, like Rickster, it's about, we got duped too. We got duped. We got suckered and sold a bill of goods, and sitting in church got a meat cleaver buried in our back by Donald J. Trump.
Be careful
but we were not duped by Trump. I mean, some people may say that, but Trump tells us every day what a piece of shit he is. He ran a campaign. I'm the biggest piece of shit around. Like, he didn't hide it. Like the only thing he ever tried to distance himself from, which was of complete farce, was Project 2025. I know nothing about it.
That's true.
Even though like 200 people that worked for me now work for Project 2025, I know nothing about it. But other than that, he told us what he wanted to do. None of this is, he was going to decimate the deep state, i.e. destroy the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a good job at that.
He is. So much so I kind of view this as a form of democratic coup.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is so on a side note, I call MAGA radio shows and completely bust their balls, and I'm a complete prick to them and try to embarrass them and whatever. If anyone's interested, my YouTube channel is The Seminar Caller, and I've got lots of videos on there of me calling these clowns. And like one guy today I called, and I concocted this fake story about a Social Security office that's supposed to have 500 employees, and that they devised a system that only one person would come in a day and sign the other 499 in. And I said to the host, "Did you hear about that?" I'm completely making this story up. And he goes, "Yes, I did. That's an outrage." He totally goes along with it. And I kept letting him dig his hole deeper and deeper. And then I finally said to him, "Oh, by the way, I made up that whole story. And it really is quite pathetic how it doesn't matter how absurd of a story it is. You idiots will believe it. if it fits your narrative. He was not happy. But anyway, you can see those on my YouTube channel at the Seminar Caller.
Okay.
But anyway, what I wanted to say with Doge and what they're doing, these people are so dumb. If you question Doge, well, what are you for, waste and government bloat? Are you for billions of dollars being wasted? It's your money too. And it's like, are you guys so stupid? Nobody is for those things. Anyone criticizing Musk and Doge is not like, wait a sec, I want waste. I want the country burning my cash. Of course. No one wants that. And the fact that you ask me that question is so beyond stupid. Why can't you clowns wrap around your head the fact that Musk, with the help of a bunch of 20-year-old computer hackers, are going into the federal government with flamethrowers, just trashing the place? Like, it needs to be done with a scalpel.
Are you spoofing us now tonight, calling and show you're being truthful, or are you spoofing us too?
No, I'm being truthful. It's only the MAGA shows that I totally bust their chops and break their balls and try to do my best to embarrass them.
We used to be MAGA, so.
Well, kind of. Is this your channel here, Trent, that I have up on the screen, if you can see that?
Oh, yeah, that's it. There you go.
So there you go. So anybody who wants to go over there, you can subscribe to Trent's YouTube channel over there at the Seminar Caller.
Yeah, Seb Gorka, if anyone knows who Seb Gorka is, he's now he was part of the first Trump administration. He's now part of this. He's like the national security advisor or something.
Yeah.
I used to call his show and totally embarrass him. Someone from his team contacted YouTube a year or two ago and complained of copyright violation, which I'm sure it is. And so I got slapped on the wrist by YouTube, and I think they now kind of shadow ban my channel. But whatever, I still have fun with it. But if you like seeing these clowns get embarrassed, that's what I do there.
So Trent from Rimby, Alberta, what do you think about Elon Musk today, SpaceX and the Doge? Like, it was Elon Musk today, and bless God that got those. What do you think about the SpaceX landing today, my friend?
I don't know much about it, but okay, that's great. Yeah, No,
it's a fair question. It's just a fair question, sir. So.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, hey, I'm not saying, look, Musk is obviously a bright guy. I don't think as bright and as brilliant as people make him out to be. He is America's biggest corporate welfare queen. Most Americans are completely oblivious to that. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? I
love that comment.
He's a welfare queen. They say Tesla and SpaceX, without the help of the U.S. government back in the day, would never have survived.
That's true.
Now, I'm fine with the government helping innovative companies like SpaceX and Tesla. But the fact that guy who is sucked on the teat of the federal government for years and years and years, and still is, he's getting $8 million a day from the government in different contracts. So the fact that this guy is now going through the federal government with a flamethrower to make sure that other companies can't benefit like he did is a bit rich, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But most Americans are oblivious. Most MAGA people are like, he's a genius. Oh, look at little X. He's so cute. Oh, isn't that wonderful? We're so stupid. Of course, they're oblivious to the fact that he's got like 20 kids from 8 different mothers. But oh, look at him. What a great father with his son. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
But what about the other kids that he totally ignores? He only drags that one around with him.
Well, that's because he's still small enough that he can put him on his shoulders and use him as a human shield.
Oh.
Right.
That's his token to get in the White House.
Yeah. Well, you don't think you're a good father?
My friend from New Jersey, We just found your new co-host there, Rickster. We just found your new co-host.
Well, I'd love to have Trent on as a guest to appear on the show with us. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Would you like to do
Big
that
Canadian
some night, Trent?
welcome.
I'm sorry, to do what? To come on the show as a guest?
Yeah, just to come on and whatever, it's a relevant subject and just appear on the show.
I'll call it. I've called in before.
Yeah.
So what I do is I go on Rumble, and I have fun trolling these shows. So like your guys' show is normal, but you're the exception to the rule on Rumble. 98% of the shows are despicable, ridiculous MAGA shows. So I call into some of them. I go on their on the chat room thing, and I start just blasting Trump and putting stuff there at it. It's like taking a stick to a hornet's nest and hitting it a bunch of times, and you see what happens.
But Trent, Rick is inviting you on a live feed on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
that's different than calling it a live feed on a Zoom call to be a co-host.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on just to co-host one night for a subject or something. But I'll put my number up on the screen there, or whatever, or just message me. We'll get connected and do something a little more substantial.
Yeah, I'm just warning you. I'm 56 going on 6, but if you're okay with that.
Well, I'm right there with you. You're going to catch up to me soon. I'm 60.
I'm going to be 73, but I haven't got past 16, so we're all good.
I think we have a couple of new callers, at least one new person on the line. Who's there?
It's Alicia.
Your good old breathing fire dragon.
Oh, well, welcome both of you. Go ahead, Alicia.
I thought I'd call in because nobody's mentioning about the JFK file.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those ones that I don't care how many files they let out. They're only, I don't believe any of them. They might be what they want to be let out, but that's what it was. I still believe the government killed JFK, and there's no such a thing as a magic bullet, and he was shot from the front because his head snapped back, and I won't believe anything else.
Okay. Is there somebody else new on the line with us? Somebody departed.
Yeah, good old
Dragon, go ahead.
Well, I was wondering what was your opinion on what Levitt said earlier about we should thank her or the American because if it wouldn't be from them, we would be probably speaking German nowadays.
Well, that was the reference to France asking for the Statue of Liberty back. And she said that they're not going to give the Statue of Liberty back to France. That was a member of the European Parliament, French, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but she says, no, we're not giving the Statue of Liberty back. If it wasn't for the United States, the people in France would be speaking German today. What's my reaction? I don't know if my reaction to that matters that much. It's just, I think that the bigger takeaway from that is that what Trump is doing and what his administration is doing is alienating the entire world, and it's a shame and a tragedy when an ally like France is asking for the Statue of Liberty back. That's the bigger takeaway. So
yeah,
but again, the American, like the MAGA bunch especially, they're the only ones that went into World War II, right? They won the war all by themselves, right?
Well, it was an allied effort, and Canada contributed. Russia even contributed in their way, right? Although they became an adversary in the end. It's.
But they make you want to believe it was all because just because they fought the war, but they didn't fight it by themselves.
That's very true.
And they didn't join till after Pearl Harbor was bombed.
If you haven't learned by now, people in MAGA are not exactly historians. History is not exactly their one of their strengths.
I mean, we could argue that France around 1940s was invaded by Hitler and his army at some point. till France get the land back. But yeah, even there, I mean,
if I can
it's
quote
not
the great
point.
John Belushi, did we just sit there when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No. Did that
I've seen
fly
a lot
past
of
you guys? I don't know.
scrambling.
Come on. Didn't you guys see Animal House?
Yeah, it was so long ago, though. I mean, I
But
remember
that's a
him in the
classic
movie
line.
1941 too. But
when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. I think most MAGA
Japanese
people would be like,
bombed
yeah, I
Pearl
remember
Harbor.
that.
Oh, yes. As long as the story is good, Trump and his gang will believe anything. You know.
well,
I
you proved my point, Alicia. I said earlier,
What?
and I've said this for a long time, it doesn't matter if they release all of the JFK files. People, even if the truth is right there in front of us, a lot of people just won't believe it. It won't matter. There's always going to be speculation, conspiracies. It'll never end.
No,
Those
it'll
papers,
never end.
if there ever was papers on whoever really did it, they were made history long ago. I bet you they were burnt and gotten rid of, and they never even existed. People
Well,
don't
that's
write
because-
that
go that
stuff
far, but-
down.
You know what? Rick will tell you, and he will probably give you the proof of it. And basically, it's what you call media manipulation through priming and framing that basically gives you a cognitive bias or a cognitive, basically a cognitive dissidence or dissonance. There you go. I got the right word.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dragon.
Me either, Dragon. I don't know what you meant by that, but it sounded pretty good, so I'll just go with it.
Well,
It's okay.
cognitive dissonance basically is like
I know what it
when
is. It's
people-
just, yeah, I kind of get it, but okay. Yeah. Bottom line is, it's just what I just said. It obviously doesn't matter because we have 80,000 new pages released today. There's no apparent smoking gun, and Alicia is saying right there she just believes that it's the government that did it, and that's all she's ever going to believe. It doesn't matter. And there are other people who have other theories. Some people believe the Russians did it. Some people think it's the CIA. Tucker Carlson said that he knows for sure it was the CIA. I don't know that these documents prove that, so I'm waiting to hear more from him. What do you think, Trent?
About JFK,
Well, about these documents, and are they helpful?
I don't think anything's going to come of it. They know what they know, and I don't think there's. I don't know.
Yeah, me either.
What I
Well,
do
you
know
know-
is, what I do know is, if you want to talk about conspiracies, can you imagine? Look, Donnie, considering he's 78, he has never worked out, and he consists of a diet of fries and Big Macs. The guy is a coronary, waiting to happen. Can you imagine if he just dies one day overnight? God forbid, of course. Like people in his condition and his age, that's what happens. Not all the
What
time.
difference does it make? J.D. Vance is in the wings.
Well, we'll get to that. But my point is, can you imagine the conspiracies that'll come out? They'll blow
No, I don't
JFK
think
away.
so.
Yeah.
Wait. If Donnie died in his sleep overnight, from a heart attack or a stroke or something along those lines, are you kidding me? The conspiracies that will run rampant will make JFK look like conspiracy child play.
Yes.
No
From the
way.
toxin,
Oh, yes.
from
You're
the toxin
dreaming.
ingest in his meal or a snake in his bed, everything's going to be good for a conspiracy in that order, for sure.
Yep. Well, you got people now, even with those attempts, people are like, wait a minute. I mean, they're questioning. They didn't even try to arrest that guy. They just shot him.
I don't think they had much choice. He was shooting at the president. So,
Yeah.
they needed to do something quickly. I don't think they had time to do anything else other than that. So they shot
What,
him.
Lee Harvey Oswald?
No, the guy in Butler.
Yeah. But
okay, I
the
got
conspiracy theories have already started around that, right?
Oh, immediately.
So
Well, yeah, because they didn't even do an autopsy and they cremated them within a day or two.
Yep.
I do have to, like, I am not a conspiracy theorist whatsoever, but I do have to acknowledge that with the Butler shooting and then with that guy in Florida that they caught in the bushes or whatever, it has been surprising or concerning how little information has come out about each of them. Again, I'm not saying there's a cover up. I'm not saying it was the deep state, or like, I'm not, but I am surprised. Like, okay, this loner kid in Butler, like,
with no social life.
how do we not? How have we not heard from the parents at some point, or the next door neighbor, or like? I have been a bit surprised that there's not more info out there. And same with the guy in the bushes in Florida.
The guy in the bushes in Florida, he was supposed to get away, but for that woman that followed him, that put a fly in their ointment.
But still, like Trent says, you think there would be more investigation and more info coming out. I mean, Donald
You
as
think
the
so?
president?
Yep. So there
Hush,
you
hush.
go again. It's the government. The Democrats were behind it.
Maybe.
You're saying that tongue in cheek, or you believe that?
I believe that. Oh yeah, the
come on,
Democrats
dude.
wanted him killed. There's no question about
Right.
that.
Right. The Democrats wanted to assassinate Trump, so they hired some 19-year-old loser with acne and glasses, and said, "Yeah, go up on that roof." Like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I see why you would think that.
But the kid didn't actually. Sure, the kid shot, but the other 8 shots came from directly behind the kid.
What?
Right, in the trees, and no one saw that guy jump out of the
apparently
trees afterwards.
there was another building behind that building, and you couldn't really see it, but that's what they said, that there were shots that went over
and
the
it
kid.
didn't dawn upon anyone to go look at that other building, or no one noticed anything. Like, come on, give me a break.
No, look at the water tower.
Yeah,
What about
people are
CIA
saying
or
that there were
something
shots fired
guarding
from the
the
water
water
tower. I know. It's just,
What
here we
about the
go. Here we
grassy-
go.
was there-
We're going down the rabbit
Was
holes.
there a grassy?
Yeah.
Was there a grassy knoll in Butler?
Not that I know of.
I think
Well,
that
I
I
don't
think the
believe
bottom
in
line
to
is,
the
with these
second shooter.
incidents, you're dealing with people who have mental health issues, largely created by, or at least amplified by, spending way too much time online and being subjected to videos, information that radicalizes them
But it's not-
sometimes, or just
But it's
skews-
not the guns. It's not,
No,
because
it's
we
not
all
the
know
gun.
that.
Hmm.
We all know
No.
that people kill people. Guns don't kill people. If that kid couldn't have gotten that gun, I'm telling you, he would have taken a butter knife and tried to assassinate Trump.
Right, yeah. That guy, that's why, I don't own any guns, and I don't need any guns. I don't want any guns. I don't understand people's fascination with guns. I'm kind of with you,
Well,
Trey.
we're not just a stupid country, we're a sick country.
Yeah. Too many
Yeah,
guns.
I don't own a gun. I don't get it. I mean, if someone has, a pistol for personal protection, okay, I not my thing, but I don't look at that person like they're crazy. I mean, but these people that have and go nuts that they need these semi-automatic weapons and they need 58 of them and they need bump stocks and this bullet and that bullet and all. But no, it's video games. It's not the gun. It's mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Well,
it
it's like
can't
I
be
said
that.
before, you have all these video games and these kids locked down for 2-3 years, and they're playing these war games. And so
Clearly
real
video-
war,
Clearly,
it's nothing to them.
Clearly, video games don't help the issue. But
No.
if kids play video games for 10 straight years, but don't have access to guns, really hard to kill a lot of people with a butter knife or a hammer.
Yes, I don't mean they're going to go like out and purposely get a gun, but I think what it does is it numbs them to the reality of what those video games are actually putting into their brain.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
when I grew up, TV was imagination. You looked at it, yeah, the guy got shot, next week he's on another show. But these kids can't break reality from fantasy.
Drones. Drones
Well, we're
around
going
the
into all
world.
sorts of other issues, but at the end of the day, it's the ease of access of guns in this country. And gee, I can't believe it. In most modern Western countries, they have nowhere near the gun violence we do. And oh, by the way, it's really, really hard to get a gun in those countries. But clearly, it's not associated. It's something else here. They don't have the same video games we do.
Well, guys, the clock is ticking, so let's go around the clock here, and we'll just get some final comments from everybody tonight. We'll start.
I'm going to jump off because I got to get to something. But nice chatting with all you guys.
Thank you very much, Trent. I always appreciate you calling in.
Good night, Trent.
Yeah,
great to talk to you.
Check out my YouTube channel. Let me know what you think of my hijinks.
Yeah.
I will do.
I will.
Thank you, Trent.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks.
All right,
Look
take
forward
care.
to you calling in again.
Bye.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And we'll start
Bye.
with you then, Dragon, for your final thoughts tonight.
Well, it was a beautiful, a perfect call. I love it. You guys are amazing, but just be careful. Don't end up like too much smushed by those, YouTubers and whatnot. I mean, it's fake news, so be careful. have a good one, guys,
right,
and don't
thanks.
ingest bad things.
Okay, Alicia, your turn.
I got nothing to say.
Well, that's short
I
and
phoned
sweet.
in to say about JFK and
Yeah.
unless you lived through it and you watched the TV and that's all that was on for 4 solid days and you're very innocent and young and it really sticks with you. And yeah, I believe that the government did it. And especially the war guys, the army. What do you call them? That were pissed off about because he wouldn't go into Cuba and he didn't want nothing and he was pulling out of Vietnam and stuff. They were really pissed off at him about that.
Well, the conspiracies will continue. Isabel,
Yeah.
take us
Yeah,
home.
the conspiracies will continue, but we'll be here tomorrow night, and we won't have conspiracies.
That's right. We'll try to pull people out of the rabbit holes, as we say around here, as we continue our quest to bring people a little bit closer to the actual truth. And with that, folks, we will be back tomorrow night. And I'm going to leave you with Orange Orangutan Man, which is what John was hoping for. And Trent maybe hasn't seen it. And If you haven't seen it, well, you'll see it for the first time tonight. Maverick and the News Brothers with the Orange Orangutan Man, 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. Love all you guys, and we'll see you all. I'll leave it to my co-host
on the flip side.
That's right.
Night.
See you then.
Good night, all.
Monkey see, monkey do. Vladimir Putin's making a fool out of you. Once a deal maker, now just a shouter. Used to shake hands, now it's all about power. You turn your back on your friends and your allies too. You betrayed the spirit of the red, white, and blue. Oh, orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand, tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Dial it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. Donald Trump 1.0 had a plan. Now Donald J. Trump 2.0's a wrecking man. Used to make deals, now you just sneer, ruling through fear, grinning ear to ear. Canada's not for sale, Greenland ain't yours. Gaza's not a playground, quit making wars. Bluffing and puffing with a wig on tight, acting like a boss but you lost the fight. The art of the deal, man, that ship sunk. Now it's all about rage and a nuclear funk. Orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand, tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Dial it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. You're fired. No, you're just bananas.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.